Thank you for having me here today. I'm here to talk about a story that's happened in Italy, where in 5 years we actually made it from 0 to 8,700,000 votes. That's about 25% of the votes in Italy, and we did that with no money and using the internet. So I have a few stories I can share with you today, very briefly, because I'll try to stay in my 15 minutes. The first thing I wanted to point out, there's a game changer. The game changer was the internet. This has changed the rules of the game all around the world, and especially in Italy. And today I wanted to talk about the five-star movement. So what happened in Italy, and how did we manage to get this movement? Today it's quoted around 30%, but in 2013 we actually gained 25% of the votes in national ballots. Well, these are some of the things we managed to do using the internet, and disintermediating the various systems that were in place with normal parties. We created this movement, for example, getting candidates chosen by the people from the movement, and we did this using the internet. So, for example, we got people candidating themselves for Parliament, for European Parliament, for single towns, and we got people, as you can see here, just posting online their CV, their video presentation, whatever their intent was for the town. This is, for example, in Rome in 2013. Or at the European elections, we had around 87,000 people that could actually come forward to candidate themselves for the five-star movement, and 5,000 of these actually did come forward and posted their CV, posted their video online, asked everyone else to vote for themselves for the European Parliament. 73 of these were actually voted online and finished up in the lists of the five-star movement for the European Parliament. And today we have 17 members of the European Parliament actually elected. A couple of them are actually in this here today with us. In Rome elections, this is another example, we had around 10,000 people that could actually candidate themselves for the position, and 200 of these came forward. 29 of them were actually elected. Today we have the first mayor, women, the first women mayor in Rome, and this is Virginia Raggi. And the same system, we actually applied it to many other contexts in regional level, at the towns, and to the national parliament. Defining the program online, we tried to tackle this difficult problem of getting to know what the movement wanted the movement to propose in Parliament, to discuss in Parliament, to propose to in any issue that needed a program of the five-star movement. So we tackled this in various ways. One is the fact that any elected person of the movement in Parliament has to discuss for 2 months online their proposed law. So today we have around 247 laws discussed online from the national parliament. with over nearly 80,000 comments on the various laws that have been proposed, and the parliamentarian needs to gather up all the issues raised on that law and propose the law taking into account all those comments and integrations that have been proposed. The same system, we've created it for a regional level. So in every region we have elected people, all the elected people in the regional council need to discuss on Lex, we call it Lex, online, their proposed laws. And lastly, but not leastly, at the European level, every report that gets taken into account from our 17 elected members of Parliament gets put online and discussed online, these also. So there was another issue that was taking into account that the fact that not necessarily we have everything ready to discuss, to propose on a political level. So this is an example taking in account the electoral law. At a certain point in Italy we discovered that our electoral law was unconstitutional. So so we had to propose a new electoral law. The Five-Star Movement did not have an electoral law to be proposed already available, so we had to discuss it with the movement, and we got a university professor that explained the various issues of an electoral law, and during 3 months we actually got people to vote on the main points of an electoral law. At the end of these 3 months, we had the people informed, involved, and deciding what electoral law the movement, the Five-Star Movement, would propose for the Italian Parliament. The same model, we are now applying it to the government programme that we hope to take forward in the next for the next elections. Raising money from people and not from state subsidies. In the 90s, we in Italy had a referendum asking people if they wanted to give money to parties, and the people, Italian people, said no. After that, the Italian parties said, well, we don't want subsidies, we want reimbursements. And the reimbursements were much more than the subsidies that were taken before the referendum. So this is a strange way of dealing with the results of a referendum. But what our choice was to respect this referendum, so we did not want to take the state subsidies. This meant that we had to ask people to give us money to do our electoral campaign, to do our activities, political activities in Italy. So, for example, in 2013, but I have many other examples after that, we raised around 700,000 euros from the Italian people that were supporting the Five-Star Movement. This is something like 30 euros each. So it's micro donations to the movement. We actually used half of that, and we gave half of it to an earthquake city to rebuild our town school. And that allowed us to obtain the famous 8,700,000 votes. So if you calculate what that expenditure means, it's around 4 cents per vote that we actually spent in for that campaign. If we go and see what we were entitled to, it was €4.86 per vote. That's what all the other parties actually got back from the state. And that's more than 100 times, just to point it out. So we said no to €42 million that was public money that we were entitled to for the results we obtained. And after that, we said no to many other state subsidies that we were entitled to. Getting people together. This was another topic, how to get people together, physically involved, and we started using Meetup. We started using Meetup straight away, even before starting the 5-Star Movement. We were using Meetup all around the world. Today, well, these numbers are slightly outdated, but they can give you a sense of what type of numbers we have. We have over 1,400 groups around the world with around 170,000 people in over 1,100 towns around the world. And to give you a sense of what those numbers mean, if you go and see the Democratic Party in the States, you can see a brief comparison of the numbers. Enable activists. We've been creating tools to get people involved and get people giving people tools to do things to help the movement. Just an example, this was a Facebook application where everyone could do things, get friends involved, provide financial support, promote the 2 events that we did around Italy, distribute the 5-Star Movement program, etc. And every activity that the people did, they got points, and the 100 most activist people actually went for a big party at the end of the campaign. And on that, we involved more than 50,000 people just on that single application. Bypass traditional media to communicate. This is a topic especially important in Italy. If you've ever been to Washington to see the museum, it's a great museum talking about the story of information around the world. And what surprised me is seeing a big wall with this map. And this map, I looked at Europe and saw a yellow dot in Europe, and that was Italy. And wow, they know in Washington too that we are a partly free press country. So this was a problem. This was a problem for a new movement wanting to develop in a country where the press is partly free. So what did we do? We started with a blog in 2005. On January it was born, and on December the same year we actually got a prize for the best Italian news and information blog in Italy, and we got that prize from a traditional media, Sole 24 Ore, which is the most common financial newspaper in Italy. And after that we actually did not get any other prize from Italian media, but that's probably normal. But we did get some good steps around the world. For example, Technorati in 2006, the year later, said we were the 28th most visited blog in the world, and in 2008 the Observer got us on the 9th most influential blog in the world. So we built up both traffic and trust on this single blog. We then went on the various social media, but I don't have time today to talk about that. Law proposals by my activists. We got people. This is a recent thing that we've put up in just starting this summer. Getting people proposing laws. For example, we put this, what we call Lex Iscritti, and we have people proposing laws to take to Parliament. So we now have around 400 proposals that have been uploaded, and people vote for the proposals to be taken to Parliament. And 6 of these proposals have already been taken to Parliament. Simply the person that proposes that law gets taken to Parliament, and the Five-Star Movement parliamentarians help him to take that law, to define it, to write it out as it should be for the Parliament, and then present it in Parliament. Organising elected people. We have around 2,200 people elected in the various town councils, regional councils, parliaments and European parliaments, and we figured out that not all of them know what all the others are doing. So we created this system where every elected person in the Five-Star Movement can actually put up what they've been presenting in a town council or in a regional council or in parliament, and can actually search what all the others have been creating, have been doing, and maybe copy it, modify it, or comment it. So this is a new way of getting people organized in the various town councils. Sharing knowledge. We've created a system for e-learning. This, for example, is a course dedicated to newly elected people in town councils that obviously don't know anything about the town council before getting into it. So we created a series of courses that they can attend online, and they can test themselves, which means that every town councillor needs to pass the various tests to be able to know that they have the right knowledge to do their job. So this is what we call the Rousseau, and we've put all these applications that you've seen in this application that is called Rousseau, that is now evolving, and will have new features in the next few weeks and months. And why did we call it Rousseau? Because the only way we think to correctly interpret the will of people is to ask the people what they want. So that's why we've called it Rousseau. Well, thank you for your attention today.
Thank you very much, Davide. This is a really fascinating insight in your work and what you have achieved and how you are organized. I would like just to give 3 very brief questions, if there are, about that. If there are people who have a very concrete question, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, congratulations. I, by coincidence, have a hat which will irritate you as a Milano man, because this is AS Roma. It's in honor of Virginia Raggi. Seriously. When you say people can initiate laws or proposing laws, which you later on represent in the parliament, who can do that? Is there any kind of requirement that someone is registered with the Five-Star Movement in some way to make such proposal? Or is it any Italian citizen who can do that? Or anybody can do it, even beyond Italy? That's one question. Second is that if you do or you make a proposal, is it an elaborated, more or less like a draft law, or is it just some basic idea which is thrown up in the air? Thank you.
Okay, I'll answer straight away, otherwise I won't remember all the questions. there's around 130,000 people that are registered with the Five Star Movement, and these people can actually propose their laws online. There's a model to propose the law that gives a very brief intent of the law, requires to see what laws are already talking about that topic, and if there's a confrontation abroad about that type of topic. Obviously, anyone can propose that law, so the competences of the people that are proposing it not necessarily require or match at parliamentarian level to be proposing that type of topic, but the intent of getting out that proposal is to show all the other people, all the other 130,000 people in the Five Star Movement, what they wanted to be doing in Parliament. So if that intent comes out, the other people will vote it, and then it will be elaborated in Parliament.
My question is, how much is the system changing through what you are doing? So does other mainstream parties start to adopt what you're doing? What is the effect on the general political system in Italy? Or is it just a small thing which in some years will be gone again?
Well, no, I don't see other parties adopting it in Italy, but this is probably because it is a structural change of how a party should be working. So introducing this type of tools and ways of dealing with the internal structure of a party means changing it radically. So it's not just there's a nice tool out there, let's try it. It's something will change radically our party, our movement, our system. Do we want to go in that direction? And well, maybe they don't. Not now.
I'm just wondering.
Okay, you have already given away microphone. Okay.
Well, your process is very, what I would call lawmaker driven. My question is, do you have in Italian politics the kind of thing that certainly exists in our politics in Ireland, where within an existing law, what I call stealth democracy is used to, let's say, get benefits for a local community in terms of, say, an investment that might be made, it's moved up in the queue. You get this kind of thing, I'm open to correction on that, in the United States, where federal investment is attached to a piece of legislation that has nothing at all to do with the purpose of the investment, but it's put in there in order to, let's say, encourage or to recognize that a congressman or a senator has voted for a particular piece of legislation. Do you have that kind of, do you have any, does this happen in Italy? I suspect it does. And how does the Five Star Movement deal with it?
There are various systems that analyze the votes of people in the various elected councils. So yes, there are some tools in that sense. If you're talking about internal tools of the Five Star Movement to control the vote, no, we don't have that type of system.
Last comment.
Yeah, just maybe a last comment is what you have explained, and I followed a little bit your movement, well, since a while. But Podemos in Spain, I see similarities in the way certain mechanisms have been used. Perhaps you could comment on that.
Yes, I actually missed the session, but they told me it was a very interesting part on dealing with receipts and all the expenditure part. I did not talk about our system dealing with the expenditure part, but we also do have a system called Ti rendiconto, which analyzes all the expenses of parliamentarians, for example, and probably we'll extend it to other elected people in near future. I see similarities in the use of the internet, because obviously when you start using the internet to get transparency, to get participation, to get people involved in the various activities, you probably go in the same direction.
Thank you very much. And I have a last question to you, if I'm informed right. You have also brought a video from a colleague in Torino with you.
Yes, of course.
Can you introduce that?
Well, I first talked about one of our mayors in Rome, but we also have a mayor in Turin, and this mayor is Chiara Pendino, that wanted to take to bring a message to the conference. So I'm happy to introduce Chiara Pendino.
Good morning to all the participants and organizers of the Global Forum on Modern Direct Democracy. My name is Chiara Pendino and I'm the mayor of Turin. I would love to be there with you, but unfortunately this was not possible due to my very busy schedule. The central theme of this forum, namely democracy as citizens' commitment, relies on all aspects of city government. This is especially important for the Five-Star Movement, which has always promoted this approach. Citizens must accordingly be involved in the definitions of policies. Participation, in fact, can lead to a shared involvement that results in more effective actions. I could talk about these topics for hours by explaining in detail our program. We have already translated several proposals into actions. I would be very glad and proud if Turin could host the forum next year. Thanks again for your invitation.
So I hope to see you all in Turin tomorrow, the next year. Tomorrow is a bit early.
Thank you. Thank you.